Hey guys, low key day today. I am exhausted. So, we're going to hang out for a minute and we're going to see if anyone shows up in the live feed. And if they do, we'll read. And if they don't, then I'm going to postpone the read for next week because I overdid it. And I always do this to myself and I always hate myself for it, but I I signed on for a job that I thought was going to be not necessarily easy, but was going to be easy enough that I could get it done. And I had set the schedule and I thought I had plenty of time to do it. And it turns out that the job was way more complicated than I thought it was going to be. So instead of having a decent timeline that I'd given myself, I put myself down to the wire and short story, it's due tomorrow and I still have quite a bit left to do because it like I said, required so much work. So I've been burning the midnight oil. Literally, I have been up for about 24 hours. I'm tired. My eyes are starting to cross, but I got to get it turned in because I don't like missing a deadline. So we'll get it done. Anyways, I see you guys in the comments. Hello. I know. I will rest. I will rest tonight after I'm done. I will get some sleep. But oh my god, I'm tired. I'm like, I swear, count the flubs today because I'm going like cross-eyed already. This should be fun. All right, well, let's get on to it. We are on chapter 25. Like I said, please just ignore the flubs today because, yeah. By the way, all-nighters at 40, not nearly as fun as all-nighters at 20. All right, on to the show. Chapter 25. They had borrowed an A.S.S.E.T car to retrieve Luke. Sage found herself missing the wind in her hair and the feeling that she had of cheating death once again when they arrived back at her apartment complex. As usual, she found Luke standing outside on the stairs, smoking a cigarette. He spotted her before she could open her mouth and call him down. Looks like someone did their homework. Luke smiled, congenial as always. He stamped out a cigarette and descended the stairs to meet them. I had a feeling you'd be back today, but did you have to bring him along? You have a problem with my partner? Sage asked. Hard enough as it was to find a Tara willing to listen to me, dealing with her overbearing partner who clearly has no respect for the position that he's... Excuse me, here we go again. Already, number one. Not even made it through the first page. Let's try that again. Hard enough as it was to find a Tara willing to listen to me, dealing with her overbearing partner who clearly has no respect for the position he's in, makes things infinitely more complicated. Gray's expression caught in a scrunch, somewhere between confusion and anger. I've been an agent for a very long time. Don't presume to lecture me on my duty. Oh, you misunderstood me. Luke held up a hand to stop him. I have no doubt that you're a crack agent, but your partner here has been left in the dark. When she questions you, she's ridiculed. When you take her on assignments, you keep her from speaking. These are learning experiences. Pass or fail, every opportunity is a teaching one, and you've failed Sage in the worst possible ways. Sage's cheeks flushed. She averted her eyes, hoping to cool the burn of embarrassment before anyone made a comment to her. She gets more information from the vampire than I've seen from you, Luke added. With that statement, he'd crossed the line. From Night defending her honor to stalker. And that left a bitter taste in her mouth. Exactly how long have you been following me around? Most of what I hear comes from that very patio. Luke nodded towards her apartment. You can twist the truth around however you like, Djinn. Gray's expression finally settled on anger. It only proves what we know to be true of your kind. And what do you know of my kind? Luke's tone turned threatening. You don't get the Djinn curse unless you're attempting magic of the darkest variety. Touché. Luke winced. No accounting for time served or good behavior. A life sentence for one mistake is a literal eternity. But please, go on about something done thousands of years before you were born. This is getting us nowhere. Sage... Excuse me. This is getting us nowhere. Sage huffed and interrupted. The amusement... I cannot read today. The amulet... Try this again. This is getting us nowhere. Sage huffed with an interruption. The amulet in that book, is that what your master is trying to recreate? I'm afraid I can't give that a definitive answer. But I'm willing to bet that all the dots have lined up for you when you did your research. Confirmation enough for Sage. Have you seen the amulet? Luke pressed his lips together tightly. His breath came in long and loud through his nose, nostrils flaring wildly. Magical gag order manifesting? Sage wondered. Either way, his actions alone had pretty much confirmed what she'd suspected. But she still waited patiently for him to verbalize it. I have recently seen a necklace. Luke's words came out strained through tightly clenched teeth. It held a stone, a big one, that might cause the wearer to hunch over. Okay, how did you come across this? Sage held out the book that he'd lent her. It was mine. Luke's response came much faster and much more easily than his last. Sage gasped at the truth bomb that he had just dropped on her. Forbidden magic has its consequences. My research was incomplete, but my eagerness to press on led me to this curse. His cheeks reddened slightly, but my new master is smart and realized the missing piece needed to succeed. You sound a little too proud. It's rewarding to see the evolution of one's work. After years of service, I understand my curse was necessary for grasping too hard at magic that didn't belong to me. However, it's that curse which prevents me from acting in ways that might prevent it from happening again. Who's your master? Gray demanded. You of all people know I can't say. So long as my master possesses my talisman, I'm bound to their will. And yet you sought out Sage. Gray folded his arms. I don't buy it. Sage was a happy accident. I just moved into the neighborhood. I don't believe in coincidences. Gray's lip curled into a sneer, muscles tensed. If this master didn't want you dealing with Sage, they would have stopped you. So this has to be a trap. Protecting your assets would be wise, Luke agreed. She knew it was a trap, but just like the Djinn, she felt unable to prevent springing it as long as they were out in the open. Then I'm going to ask for you to follow us back to A.S.S.E.T. You did read the notes in that book I gave you. Luke's expression darkened. Why do you think we're here? Sage asked. Due diligence, interviewing suspects. Luke waved his hands flippantly. You're the law. I expect nothing short of you doing your job. And bringing criminals down to the station? Sage said, immediately regretting the cheesy sitcom line. You are the final piece of the puzzle. Luke's eyes widened fearfully. Me? Sage pointed to herself. Why the hell am I important? Tara's, Luke confirmed. Are you threatening all of us? Gray balled his fist up, ready for a fight. A friendly warning, should my master wish. We're better protected behind A.S.S.E.T's walls, Gray said. And Luke smiled wickedly at that. You can always return alone. Not without more information, which is what you seem to be unable to give, Sage added. And you think behind your protective barrier that you can somehow negate the magic binding my tongue? Luke raised an eyebrow as if genuinely curious this time. If anyone can make a miracle like that happen, it's Ava. Sage hadn't meant to say the thought out loud, but the words still rang true. She looked over her shoulder, making sure that there were no other neighbors within earshot. Thankfully, the apartment complex was relatively quiet at midday. Most people were still at work, and the few that she saw out were in the pool, splashing loud enough to avoid hearing their conversation. I do love a good experiment. Luke held his hands out as if waiting to be cuffed. Am I under arrest? Do I have rights? A phone call? Just walk. Gray refused to laugh at the Djinn's joke. Ava's gonna have a fit with this one. Should we apologize in advance? Sage meant it as a joke, but no one seemed to get it. I want you to understand, I am trying to help, but I can only reveal so much. Luke followed along as they headed towards the parking lot. You know everything in that book, right? Sage asked. I do, Luke answered eagerly. So if your master completes their work, your magic would be absorbed too, she added. Meaning I would no longer be tied to cursed magic? Luke filled in the blanks. Well, that can go either way, you understand. You could die or be rendered mortal, she clarified, drawing a finger under her throat for emphasis. Either's fine with me. I've lived many lifetimes, served too many masters, and seen civilizations rise and fall and rise again. So by that logic, you sound like you almost want your masters to succeed, Gray added. I said either was fine, Luke clarified again. Any outcome for me is acceptable. However, knowing the cost of my master accomplishing their goal is unfortunate, which is why I have done all I could to alert the local law. It's out of my hands now, off my conscience, whatever happens. He swings from nice guy to jerk just as fast as you do, Gray. Sage tried joking again, but the tone of the conversation had become way too somber for her liking. You've got a point there. Perhaps he deserves a little time in lockdown, maybe in a room with Ava. Master or not, she'll extract the truth from him. Gray's reply came in rare form, and Sage giggled, refusing to tamp down on the amusement. Laughter felt good. How long had it been since she'd had a real good laugh, especially with Gray? Luke stared at them both in utter disbelief. How can you two make jokes knowing your situation's dire? Because laughter's often necessary. I mean, rather than let the stress shatter us, Gray replied. Every day, my people square up against magic abusers with world-altering machinations. You're far from the first or the last. Those in my line of work who can't deal with the stress find themselves out of the agency in a body bag. Goosebumps prickled all over Sage's skin. She gulped back a knot that had suddenly wedged itself in her throat. Luke's eyes darted back and forth between Gray and Sage, but he didn't open his mouth this time to speak. You think I'm mean to Sage because I don't tell her everything and ask her to stop talking so she can listen? Gray aimed his words like a nocked arrow straight at Luke's head. I'm teaching her the best way I know, through experience. There's a lot of really scary shit out there. Reading about it in books is nothing compared to the experience. Even then, I've worked perhaps a little too stringently to mitigate that experience. It's fine, really. She hoped to derail the conversation. They'd already gone rounds with each other on the topic. No need bringing others into it. Bottom line is, we're a team. Gray continued his defense. You can stand there high and mighty with your magical gag order stopping you from giving us the information. That's fine. He nudged Sage's shoulder and gave her a mischievous wink. We have our own ways around that. And while our boss is tearing into you, we'll find your master. You're free to try. The gesture didn't match the tone of his voice, nor the strange look that Sage caught in his eyes. She'd seen it the last time they'd talked, as if he weren't truly in control of himself, and that thought worried her. A.S.S.E.T had its own safety measures in place. They had to, in order to house prisoners that were brought in for questioning or sentencing. Since he was a suspect, it was procedure to bring Luke in. But that odd glint in his eye had her second-guessing it. He'd said it himself, not a few moments before, that they needed a Terra. Would bringing him in set off the trap that his master had planned? Wait, Sage said before they reached the car. We need collateral before we go. Ooh, smart thinking, Luke praised. Unless we have his talisman, there's no collateral we can hold him with, Gray replied with a frustrated sigh. But you cannot be anything but impressed by your partner's train of thought. Luke nodded again towards Sage. Sadly, my talisman's under the control of my master. I can offer my word if that would do. The word of a djinn? Sage glared at him. A djinn I may be, and a trickster by design, but my words always ring true, and that cannot be denied. He bowed with a flourish of his hand. Was that absolutely necessary? Gray all but rolled his eyes. Sage wasn't sure how she should respond to that. He can bend the truth to its breaking point, Gray nodded to Sage, but he can't lie. Okay, Luke, what word can you give? Oh, I like you, Sage. You do have a true heart, but I wouldn't dream of harming you. And it is my promise that behind the walls of A.S.S.E.T, all agents are safe from my magic. Sage thought long and hard about his revelation. It seemed they had no choice. If Djinn magic was needed to work the final infusion for the amulet, and his promise was safety from his magic behind A.S.S.E.T's walls, then that was where they needed to be, and quickly. You had better be telling the truth. All right, we're stopping there. Next week, we will hop on to chapter 26, and we're almost through with this book. I think we have 33 chapters. So we are really getting close to finishing this one. And once we get towards the end, I will put up a poll and see what you guys want me to read. If it's the next one in this series or if we want to try something different, it'll be up to you guys. Let's check the comment section here. Anybody do a flub count for me? Because I was tripping left and right over my words today. I will do one next week. I missed last week for Easter, and I think I missed the week before for something else. So I felt like I can't skip out on you guys today. So just the one chapter today. Next week we'll do the two like we have been normally. That counts as a flub. So many flubs. Thank you, Rebecca. Yes, so many flubs. Look, I warned you at the beginning. I have had zero sleep in the last 24 hours. I'm starting to go cross-eyed. So I'm lucky I actually was able to read today. You weren't even sure how to count some. That's great. That's great. Flubbed so hard you couldn't even count it. Thank you. Thank you. I am exhausted. Next week, I promise, it'll be better. There'll be less flubs. There'll still be flubs. There's always flubs. All right, guys. Well, I am going to cut this off a little bit early today. We're right about the 20-minute mark. And I'm going to finish up my stuff so that maybe I can get a nap in before my kids come home. We'll see. Probably not. Most likely, I will probably have to wait till I send the kids to bed, and then I will fall face forward into my mattress and not wake up until tomorrow. So, thank you guys for hanging out. As always, I love you. I will be back next week on Sunday to do another reading. And till then, take care. Remember, self-care, take care of you so you can take on the world. All right, bye, guys.